At Erie County Technical School, we have this mindful beatitudes. It's something that I introduced in the year 2010. And it's the old football coach coming out of me. When I became the principal here, I wanted to make sure that my faculty and my students knew my expectations of them. And again, it's nothing more than really a way to thinking and being successful each day. Claudia, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. You can see that I have two philosophies here. I've got one for my instructors and I have one for my students. The instructors, I'm just going to address the first three real quick. The first three talk about being welcoming, being genuine, being considerate. Folks, I tell my staff all the time, being an educator really is being humanistic. You know, we're all very intelligent. We understand our fields of study very well, but we always forget about the most important thing, and that's treating people, you know, with dignity and with concern. So again, I stress the first three. The last two there, be knowledgeable and be involved. That's what we want you to do daily. That's why you became an educator. But again, I'm just so proud of one of my instructors. I had a meeting after school with him yesterday, and we talked about him being welcoming yesterday. And he's having a tough time with one of his students, but he is opening up his arms to that family and that student and not locking that student out. So again, I want to, you know, compliment him. So when I talk to my faculty, I go back to my beatitudes quite a bit to let them know that they are being successful in what I'm trying to have them do here, and ultimately for their students. If you look on the right-hand side of this screen, we have our beatitudes for our students. And again, I want my students to understand they're coming to the tech school. They made a choice to come to the tech school. It may not be exactly what they wanted to do after their sophomore year, but still they made a decision. So we call this the Beatitudes with pride, because if you take a look at the Beatitudes, be passionate, P is for passionate, R respectful, I involved, D disciplined, and E employable. That spells out pride. So again, we can talk to our students about the things that we expect them to do here. Of course, being respectful, we tell them those are the things you've learned in kindergarten, but much more so here at the Erie County Tech School. Many of our students are working with dangerous equipment, you know, and even in the cosmetology lab, people think, oh, geez, they're just cutting hair. Well, they got scissors, they're working with people. In my early childhood education, we bring these little children in for our Tech Types program, and they're working with 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. Well, of course, we want them to be respectful to all the equipment. So they've got to be thinking about, you know, the dangers of what's going on there. I want to let you know that I didn't invent this. Again, I was in a NISL program back in 2010, and one of my readings was to read the Starbucks Experience, and it's an outstanding book. It was a bestseller at the time. And so those people that were leading this NISL program and class really had a good way to make us think about this. One of the assignments was go home after you read this. How would you consider implementing this in your school? Well, I guess I took it and I ran with it, because Starbucks has a little green card they have, a little green folder that their employees have to remind them how they're supposed to act at work. All I did was pick this up, and you'll see later in the my PowerPoint about how I created this. Claudia, you can go on now. So where am I going now that I became the director? Well, now I've got much broader employees. I've got my custodians, I've got my maintenance staff, and of course my all the other staff, my educational staff. So what I've done now is I've introduced the Beatitudes for the support staff. And again, I wanted to let them know that how important they are to the success of our school. And they really are. Again, everybody that we touch comes through this door is a stakeholder, and we always tell them they're just not a guest. They really are a stakeholder, because future could have them having a child enrolled in our school. And so again, these are the Beatitudes, and they really bleed together with the other attitudes, the other Beatitudes that I have here. So this is new this year, and again, I've introduced this to my staff. We are actually having a staff employee of the month that can be ranged from an instructor all the way down to custodial staff. Our first employee of the month will happen to be a secretarial member. She's done a wonderful job. Again, in our business office here, she's the business office secretary. I'm a new director. We've got a new human resource person. We have a new business manager. This lady is really the glue right now to this office here. And so she needed to be recognized. So she actually won the first employee of the month. And last month we had one of our instructional aides win the award because she's been such a big help there. Claudia, you can go on. So again, some of the highlights that I've talked about. Well, again, yearly in service, we talk about our Beatitudes with our instructors. And again, we remind them of the things that we want them to do. Again, the support staff, we addressed them this year with me being the director here. We have these Beatitude cards, and you'll see an example on the left-hand side of the screen there. And that's my instructional staff. And again, right now we're preparing one for the support staff. But the cards are a link back to that Starbucks experience that I read, because their employees were encouraged to have a green notebook and be able to refer back to this green notebook. So again, I've created this card, and it just so happens our colors are green here, so it kind of goes together here. But a lot of our staff will wear it in their pocket, and I actually have mine here. I know the screen's not, but I've got mine in my pocket daily just to model for my staff and stuff like that. Again, I've already talked about the employee of the month that we're doing now. It's something that I've wanted to implement, and since I became the director now, I looked at my staff, especially my business office staff and educational, administrative staff, and I said, this is something we want to do, but we want to make it, an honest thing. So we go through a voting process and a nominate process, and then we come down to one person. On the right-hand side of the thing, highlights for the students. We started this in 2011. We've got our posters hung up in each lab as daily reminders of what they're supposed to be doing with the pride terminology. So again, we hung up these posters. They're pretty good sized posters that talk about our Beatitudes for our students. I ask our instructors to go over it in the beginning of the year, and then we send out reminders about that. We introduced the Beatitudes at the beginning of the year, and of course with COVID, we have to be kind of flexible. So I actually filmed myself last year, and the new principal here asked me to just allow her to utilize that this year until she becomes comfortable with our Beatitudes. Student recognition program, of course, we have a student of the month. Every lab recognizes a student for one of those Beatitudes. And it's nice to say when I look at the pictures that we have in our hallway where we put the picture in our building, those pictures will be mailed home at the end of the month to the sending schools, but we also mail a picture home to the families, so the families are excited. But what's nice is when I look at the Beatitudes that are being recognized for the students, I usually have all 5 Beatitudes on that board. Students are being recognized for every one of them. So I know my staff is taking being sincere about it. They're not just picking one, they're really looking at those. Again, the faculty integrate the Beatitudes into their lab in creative ways, such as using technology. They'll do many things with our Beatitudes and do some writing assignments on it. As the principal here, I integrated the Beatitudes into my discipline. So when I was talking to a student, I would ask them, hey, you're here in front of me. Why is that? And of course, as everybody knows, the student, well, I don't know why I'm here. So you get that once in a while. But a lot of times, once I got them to focus on it, I'd set the Beatitudes in front of them. And I'd say, okay, which Beatitude do you think you may have not respected enough or not complied with enough? And they had a little writing assignment on it. So again, it's connecting that piece there. Claudia, you can go right ahead and go to the next slide. Well, with those Beatitudes, we wanted to talk about now how we recruit here at the Erie County Technical School, because they're linked, okay? They really are linked. ECTS, we have this recruiting principles here, and we adopted these principles for the recruitment and the retention, okay, of our students here. And again, we talk about the right student. And again, this is very important. We want the right student in the right program for the right reason. And we've made sure our homeschool guidance counselors and our principals, they understand that. And I just so happened to reiterate this year in my first superintendent's meeting with the PAC group. I just wanted them to understand that, sending students here without a thoughtful reason isn't appropriate. We want to make sure that, the students are coming here for these reasons. And again, this philosophy was something that we utilized when we got a marketing consultant here, Tools for Schools, and that's Mark Perna. And so again, that happened probably in 2009. So again, we still stayed with this philosophy and we believe in it. As Claudia mentioned earlier, you've got to believe in what you're doing here, and we really do believe this. So with these ideas, I just want to let you know that we blend our marketing materials into as much advertisement with the non-traditional approach and presentation. Number one, it ensures the consistency, and I'm reading that to you, and I don't mean to, but again, we want everything to be consistent here at the tech school. And so again, when I first got on the, I guess I'm going to call that nasty list that we all kind of chuckle about here, I got pulled into a group that was working with the National Alliance for Partnerships. And of course, it was the NAPE program. Once again, I was trying to get my school off the list as the principal. Well, I thought what a great idea was to create a poster. And of course, Cynthia might remember the poster. I know that she asked me to mail it to her a long time ago. We called that poster Dare to Be Different. And of course, I thought, and I still believe it's a pretty solid poster, but that's why you have people reach out and help you. We didn't get off that list, and all of a sudden I meet this wonderful lady coming to my campus, and Claudia, that happens to be you, so I hope you're smiling. I presented some of the things that we were doing here at the tech school. And once again, that when we talked about that poster, Claudia looked at that, and that poster, we went out and recruited non-traditional employees to make a little statement about why they're in their field. But I never really took and thought about the Dare to Be Different slogan that we had there. And Claudia mentioned to me, Joe, poster looks great. It's a great idea with bringing non-traditional employees into this, but Dare to Be Different could be a little bit negative, controversial. So again, she made me think, and again, that's what all of us are involved, to make us think here. So that was my first poster there, Dare to Be Different. It's still in my school a little bit, but not as prevalent as it once was. Claudia, you can go to the next slide, please. Well, again, trying to think and what's the impact of working with people. First of all, creating these mindful philosophies and implementing your marketing, it's going to create strengthen your school's culture because everybody's going to be thinking alike, okay? Of course, I already mentioned to you that I have a common language that I just addressed with a faculty member yesterday when he was having a problem with a student and a parent, when I told him he really is, empowering and, making relevant the Beatitudes, okay? And we talked about being welcoming yesterday. And again, I've already talked about how my new principal has adopted what I did. She still assigns to the students that may have a hiccup along the way, to reflect on the Beatitudes for the students. I really do believe that we have a school community with these Beatitudes, and also in our marketing plan. We are now, and we've always have, but really I'll talk about how I'm expanding this to the community, to the homes and the home schools. Again, they know our Beatitudes, and like I said, we share the picture of the students, so they see that monthly, students being recognized for the Beatitudes. But again, there's other ways that I'm trying to get in front of our home schools with the non-traditional recruitment and introducing other things there. So again, I'll talk about how I presented these programs as opportunities for every student and stuff. Claudia, go to the next slide, please. So remaining challenges. Well, again, when Claudia came to me in 2018, I had a challenge put in front of me. I had a belief that our poster was a great marketing tool, but Claudia really helped me think about getting outside the box. On the right-hand side there, you'll see one of the new posters that we designed after Claudia joined my staff and my team worked together. We decided that we were now going to implement not only the non-traditional student or the non-traditional employee in the picture, but we were going to put them in the forefront, as Claudia mentioned there. So here you'll see auto tech. There's a young lady out there, but the gentleman's in the background. So again, we're kind of making this appear as, hey, they're working together, they're partners. And now we're trying to normalize a working environment. okay? And so again, that was our posters, and that's how I designed them. And Claudia would, I'd send them to her, and again, she would look at them, and we're working together on that. I know it's pretty small, but you'll notice there, the automotive, keep your wheels on the road. Well, that's our marketing slogan. We've now embedded our marketing slogan into the non-traditional posters. Down below there, you'll see where we talk about school to work employment, certificate employment, and then of course, higher education. So therefore, what we took with these posters after we finally completed them all after that year is we provided these to the sending school districts. Every school district received 18 posters from us, and they were asked to implement these through hanging them up through their hallways in their school, focusing on one a month. And we really got some great buy-in from our home schools with that. And again, as the director, I was just out there quite a bit this summer. And again, recently more with the next topic I'll talk about. And I do see our posters out there. 2 years ago, when I made a presentation at the Integrated Learning Conference, I mentioned that my admissions coordinator and myself actually prepared lesson plans. We asked them to integrate these 6th grade posters with a 6th grade lesson plan that we developed. We developed it and handed it to them and said, hey, if you just follow this, it's a great lesson plan to create an artifact for the career work standards. And then also for our 9th graders. So we had a different lesson plan for the 9th graders. So that was a way we try to get ourselves involved at that time there. I believe it's happening still at the 9th grade level. I don't know about the 6th grade level because I've never really gotten a positive feedback from them. So again, I can't give you any positive data on that. But again, as I said, everything that we do here now, I always want to develop with the non-traditional mentality here. Why just market something and not embed everything together? So again, we recognize Student of the Month or an Employee of the Month. I've already talked about that. Recruiting strategies better reflect non-traditional students. And again, that's something that we continually do here. So I want to actively be engaged at the home schools. So what I did this year as the director, and it really was a kind of something I had in mind a couple of years ago as a principal, I wanted to give it to my graphics department. My graphics department, and Claudia and I were working on this together, was creating a coloring book. Well, my students in my graphic department weren't supporting me. And again, there's nothing wrong, they're busy. And I want to recognize that teacher, he's busy. So this past year, we had an elementary school guidance counselor reach out to my guidance counselor and say, is there some way you could support us? Well, she came to me and I said, well, now's the time for us to develop a coloring book. And so down in the right-hand corner, you'll see just the cover of the coloring book. Look what you can be. And I went out to every 3rd grade, every elementary school in my district. So I've got 11 school districts. So my middle of October and I had to be done by November 1st. I always give myself a goal. So again, I had 3rd grade fairs that they had little assemblies for me. I went into their lab, so I shared my coloring book with them. And it's nice talking to 3rd graders because they're so open and so talkative. So I would ask them, and of course the construction photo isn't up here, but in my construction trades, I would always start with this coloring book, and I'd say to the 3rd graders, hey, when you think of a construction trade worker, what do you think of? Is it a male? Is it a boy? Is it a girl? And most 3rd graders, and I loved hearing it, either one can be a construction worker. Well, that's fantastic. That's what we want to hear. And again, I told them, but if you go outside, and of course, a lot of people had construction workers on there, I'd say you're going to see mostly male. But you know what? You young ladies can be a construction worker. So when I opened it up to the coloring book, we had a young lady with a hammer. And again, you'll say to me, okay, Joe, you're kind of contradicting your posters where you've got a female and a male, but it was a coloring book for a 3rd grader. We didn't want to get it to be too complicated. So again, it is a female there and stuff like that. But we want to make sure that the 3rd grade teachers can implement that idea and talk about that idea. In this one, I'm showing you our health department, our health assistant lab. And of course, that is a zip code that's pretty popular here for us, but it is a female-dominated program, and the males are the non-traditional students. Well, again, in this one here, we wanted the male to be there. So when I talked to the third graders, I said to them, hey, when you think of a nurse, what do you think of? And here most students would say, well, it's my grandmother, it's my mother, it's a woman. And so those third graders, I had to ask them, well, do you think a boy or a young man can be a nurse? And of course, third graders, oh, absolutely. And that's what you want to hear. And again, I brought up, I've got two neighbors. I've got a neighbor that is an emergency nurse and he loves his job. And then I've got a nurse that's a flex nurse. So I got to talk to them about that. Again, the coloring book is something that I just told my consortium, they will receive these every year because I can use the Perkins grant to help me to develop this coloring book. I can supply them to them. And now what we've done is we've connected ourselves to their K through 12 plan, their guidance plan, but also we've provided them an artifact for that grade 3 level for the career work standards that we all talk about. And so again, I just wanted that to come to your attention about that coloring book. I've already been asked to share it with a couple CTCs in Pennsylvania. Folks, I'm an old football coach and I've always told them, if I have something you want, I'll be glad to share it with you. I'll share those posters with you, whatever I can do to help you. I just want to let you know, again, we're all in this together and trying to get off a list, that is important. But the most important thing is that we're here to help our students get better and to recruit students for every lab for the right, the right student, like I said, for the right program, for the right reason. And if we can remember those things, we're successful, no matter if I get back on the list or if I don't get back on the list. So with that being said, I hope I've answered some questions or gave you some directions. I'm open for anything, Claudia. Thank you.